Hello and welcome to NAFDAC and Your Health. This is the program where NAFDAC, the agency saddled with the responsibility of safeguarding the health of Nigerians, intimates you on her activities. I am Opeyemi Orimolade, your host. On today's episode of NAFDAC and Your Health, we begin with the importance of necessary micronutrients in food. This will dovetail into the recently held meeting of the National Food Fortification Alliance at the NAFDAC office complex in Isolo, Lagos. In the second segment, we will bring you highlights from the continuation of the Catch Them Young initiative, an initiative aimed at curbing drug abuse and other vices among children recently. The safety of the food and drugs made available for public consumption is one of the numerous areas of concern for the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control. Part of the things the agency pays critical attention to is the presence of the necessary micronutrients in the various food products. This is otherwise known as food fortification.
It is extremely important for me as the Director General to drive efforts to ensure that the foods that we eat are safe. Why? Because I'm part of the consumer and I'm part of the population. Anything that I cannot eat, I will not allow such to get into the market. When you look at the human mind, there is nothing a human mind cannot do unless it is checked, it's legislated, and controlled. We have been going around the country trying to sensitize, first, the health journalists and the communities about the fact that we have to be very careful in terms of what we buy. Food fortification is extremely important because there are some nutrients that we don't get enough of through the foods that we eat, especially for children. Vitamin A is an example. For oil, for milk, for sugar, for, flour, things like that. It is extremely important when a child is growing up or adults, pregnant women, to eat foods that are fortified. A lot of our cereals are fortified. Oil, I've mentioned oil, are fortified. But there are some people who do not go through that process of fortification. So we go out, sample. If there is no vitamin A there, we shut them down. But we have been doing that on and on and on. But when greed takes over trade, then somebody's life is endangered. So fortification of food, certain foods, very, very important. And that is part of what Food Safety and Applied Nutrition Directorate and our enforcement, that's what they do in terms of ensuring that the foods that are out there that are supposed to be fortified are fortified.
It is to ensure that food products are adequately fortified with the appropriate micronutrients. That is why NAFDAC collaborates with relevant stakeholders in the food regulation sector, such as the Standards Organization of Nigeria and the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, to ensure that manufacturers of food products comply with the guidelines on the inclusion of the necessary micronutrients in their food products. This is also the reason the Food Fortification Alliance was established. The NFA is a platform where issues, challenges, and way forward in food fortification, as well as results of findings of regulatory bodies on compliance, are discussed. Another quarterly meeting of the National Fortification Alliance to give updates on the activities of the Alliance was recently held at the NAFDAC office complex in Lagos. As the regulatory body directly concerned with the regulation and control of food products, the Secretariat of the Alliance is domiciled in NAFDAC, and the Director of the Food Safety and Applied Nutrition Directorate of the agency heads the secretariat. At the beginning of the recently held meeting, Mrs. Eva Edwards read out the agenda of the meeting.
The agenda for today's meeting reflects the critical role of the National Fortification Alliance in driving implementation, regulatory enforcement, and practical solutions for food fortification in Nigeria. The key highlights include findings from the 2024 compliance monitoring exercise. We will hear from the three core regulatory agencies: the Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, the FCCPC, on the progress made and challenges encountered in monitoring compliance with food fortification standards and regulations at the factory, market, and household levels, respectively. These findings are valuable for addressing gaps in the fortification of the selected food vehicles for mandatory fortification in Nigeria. Staple foods like wheat flour, vegetable oil, and sugar, which are central to contributing to improving the population's micronutrient intake. We'll be looking at the final reports of the Country Working Group, the CWG, on bullion fortification projects. As you may be aware, the Country Working Group on Bullion Fortification is a creation of this alliance. The NFA was created in 2019. We'll also have a discussion on fortification inputs, the challenges surrounding the availability, affordability, and accessibility of key fortification inputs. Vitamins and minerals remain a barrier to effective implementation.
Mrs. Eva Edwards also urged the members of the Alliance to be mindful that every decision made at the meeting has potentials to transform lives and safeguard the health of future generations of Nigerians. She also emphasized the commitment and steadfastness of NAFDAC as the NFA Secretariat in supporting the activities of the Alliance. The chairman of the Alliance, Mr. Fred Chiazo, while addressing the gathering, spoke about the improvements that have been brought to food fortification since the NFA came into existence.
NFA, like you all know, have come a long way. I mean, it's about 20 years plus today, yes. And a lot of us here have been part of this, seeing it evolving, seeing the ups and the downs. And today, look at where we are, the ambience of this meeting venue. Look at the good-looking people. Look at how fresh you're all looking. That tells the progress. I mean, let's give ourselves a round of applause. I say this with great joy because when I look back and look today, there's a big difference, especially in relation to micronutrient deficiencies issues, which is why we're all here. It's the interest. I mean, you look at government, look at industry, NGOs, academia, and I mean, we're happy to have even media too. You see the importance of this body coming together, and thanks to all our developing partners, the Helen Kellers, the GAIN, and the ones to come that we're going to task, TechnoServe, WFP, be prepared for me in 2024, 2025. So we're coming to you, and the rest of you. And I'm happy to have UNICEF sit in this meeting. So UNICEF, we welcome you, and we hope that it's not just a one-off thing. We will be talking to you. And because really, whether we like it or not, NFA have come to stay. And it is growing bigger. And I can assure you, the plans for 2025 is going to be much bigger than what we see today.
Stakeholders represented at the meeting include manufacturers of various food products, as well as the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, among others. These ministries expressed their pleasure and support for the activities of the NFA.
The ministry recognized the efforts of the National Fortification Alliance and then the type of collaboration that's been going on ensuring the issue of micronutrient deficiency disease in the country is tackled, in order to ensure improvement in the nutrition-related health outcomes of the indices in the country.
The ministry is actually very much aware of the value of this committee, while the agricultural sector focuses more on biofortification, which empowers the genetic makeup of the croplands. This too is important. The fortification tool is also very important because it now adds the necessary missing macronutrients to the already grown crops. So on that basis, we are very much committed to this project, and we will, as much as possible, be always around to make our inputs.
As a coordinating ministry, you know that all the related activities we have been doing with regards to coordination. And I must really commend this gathering with all the efforts you've been putting on with regards to coordination. I really commend you. God bless you all.
You've been watching NAFDAC and Your Health. The program continues shortly.
NAFDAC wishes to sensitize the general public on the detrimental effect of alcohol consumption by underage. Underage drinking can result in psychosocial and health problems like poor academic performance, increase in crime rate, alcohol dependency, mental health disorder, cardiovascular problems, kidney and liver diseases, and even death. NAFDAC advises parents and guardians to stop the exposure of young people below 18 to alcohol by asking them to sell or purchase it. For more enlightenment on NAFDAC activities, watch NAFDAC and Your Health program every Monday 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. on TVC and every Tuesday 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on NTA. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
Welcome back to NAFDAC and Your Health. Thanks for staying tuned. NAFDAC, in the frantic effort to safeguard the health of Nigerians, pays special attention to the young ones as they are the future of the nation. And whatever foundation they have today will go a long way in defining what becomes of our society tomorrow. In this respect, NAFDAC, particularly since the inception of the leadership of Professor Mojisola Adeyeye at the agency, has accorded special attention to curtailing the activities that could put the future of the young ones in jeopardy. Chief among these is drug abuse. As part of measures to curb drug abuse and underage drinking, the agency flagged off a nationwide sensitization on drug abuse aimed at recruiting secondary school students into the fight against the social menace at the Federal Capital Territory in 2024. The program, which is tagged Catch Them Young program, was recently taken to Immaculate Heart Comprehensive Senior High School, where the NAFDAC Consumer Safety Club was also inaugurated. Pharmacist Yedoni Adenuga, Director, Narcotics and Controlled Substance Directorate, represented the NAFDAC Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, at the event.
Yes, this program is tagged NAFDAC Catch Them Young, and we have the intention of going around to as many secondary schools as possible in all across the country to do drug demand reduction programs in the schools to ensure that our students are well informed about drug abuse and to dissuade them from the use of drugs and alcohol. It's going to be carried out in schools across the geopolitical sections of the country, including Lagos State and the FCT. It's going to be taking place in Rivers State. We are having it in Kano State, in Gombe State, and in Oyo State, and in Anambra State. We had a flag off in FCT at Abuja last year, and then that's when we flagged off the program. It's actually we are starting it as a pilot, so we have picked 6 schools from these 8 states that I have mentioned, including the FCT. So 6 schools per per state, per geopolitical section of the country. So it's taking place simultaneously, and we hope that we end this pilot by the end of this quarter.
Pharmacist Adenuga also explained why NAFDAC thought it wise to initiate the Catch Them Young program.
First of all, information is powerful. Knowledge is power. So when these students, when they have enough information and they have this knowledge, it will help them to make informed decisions. It will help them to avoid peer pressure, or they will not they'll be able to say no to any pressure that comes around them. And we know that when we speak to a child, children, they are very social. Once we speak to a child, it goes round even to their friends, to their families, and from there it will spread all around. And we know that secondary school children who are teenagers, they need to know this information, especially about alcohol. We know that alcohol is very common. It's very common all in our society, especially it's readily available because they are in sachets, they are in a small volume, and they are all available. So if these children learn from their youth to do away with alcohol, we know that we'll be preserving a generation.
In her own presentation, pharmacist Risikat Owiye-Ekonayo explained the importance of the NAFDAC Consumer Safety Club to the students.
So the role of NAFDAC Consumer Safety Club, NCSC, in safeguarding the health of the nation. So what did I call the name of the club? So what's the meaning of the NCSC? So in safeguarding the health of the nation, in safeguarding the health of everybody. When we talk about drug abuse, we are not just talking about your friends or your neighbors abusing drugs, abusing illicit drugs. Even sometimes our parents does that because there are times they tell you, oh yeah, come here, go to so person. You see, I'm sure some of you would have seen your neighbors when they call people hawking drugs. You know it's illegal to hawk drugs. They call them, I have malaria, and they give them like 10 tablets. They give them so much tablets. If you check your house, I'm very sure you see some drugs that do not have labels. And you have people around you take these drugs. And you know, most of these drugs, when you have used them, they cause end organ damage. And I'm very sure we love our parents so much, we don't want them to die young, yes or no? We love our brothers so much, we don't want them to die young, yes or no? We love our sisters so much, we don't want them to die young, yes or no? We love our neighbors so much, our friends so much, we don't want them to die young. Yeah. And when you see your friend doing anything wrong and you don't tell that person, it's not because you love that person. You are causing more harm. So you can be an ambassador of change.
The students put up a drama on the negative impact drug abuse could have.
Miss Fortes too.
Let's come and go so it doesn't matter.
The way you lay your bed, so you lie on it.
They are just motivational quotes. They will do you nothing. Leave me alone. I'm not doing it.
We report it to class teacher.
Report. I don't care.
Somewhere.
Yes, I passed.
Miracle.
Thank you, sir.
Jibe.
Congratulations, you tried. I'm finished.
I want to thank them for coming to our school and impart some knowledge to us and telling us more on how to be aware of drugs and how to safeguard us from doing drugs. If a drug is expired, like checking the NAFDAC, checking the expiring date, and then all the authorization, all the necessary things that we are meant to check.
I've really learned a lot about drug abuse. I know some people here do not know much about drug abuse, but with this little they put here, they have departed a knowledge to many students here.
In her remark, the NAFDAC Deputy Director of Public Relations, Mrs. Christiana Obiaziko, commended the students for their display of such an impressive understanding of the subject matter and their comportment.
That means we're really going to be our foot soldiers. We are happy with what we have just done, and we are so proud of you, and we are happy to be here.
In his closing remark, the principal of the school, Mr. Bodunrin Olugbenga James, expressed his appreciation to NAFDAC for such a wonderful initiative.
Similarly, the sensitization campaign also took place at Yejide Girls Grammar School in Ibadan. The school, which is the alma mater of Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, also played host to NAFDAC from the Southwest Zonal Office. Their event featured lectures and paper presentations. The Southwest Zonal Director, Mrs. Roslyn Ajayi, made a presentation on behalf of Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, an old student of the school.
On behalf of the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, who happens to be an old student of this great school, Yejide Girls Grammar School. I, Mrs. Rosemary Ajayi, the Director of Southwest Zone of NAFDAC, present you these items as a token for distribution to the school, especially the consumer safety club members, and then the education, information materials for further sensitization, because the sensitization continues after this program. It does not end at this gathering.
In Port Harcourt, South Zone, the Catch Them Young project and the NAFDAC Consumer Safety Club were inaugurated at Government Girls Secondary School, Rumokuta, in the Rivers State capital. Mr. Chukwuma Olugbu, the South Zonal Director, who represented the NAFDAC DG, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, said the initiative is critical because it targets the segment of the society mostly affected by drug abuse. The NAFDAC DG acknowledged the role of teachers in the fight against drug abuse as they spend significant time with students. She also urged the teachers to work closely with parents and guardians as part of their contribution to nation building. This is how far time permits us on this episode of NAFDAC and Your Health. We will return next week with another insightful package. Meanwhile, you can help NAFDAC in our efforts to keep Nigerians healthy by sending in your comments, complaints, or reports and observations on the activities of peddlers of NAFDAC-regulated products.
You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email reforms@nafdac.gov.ng or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded.
Before I go, let me remind you that it is criminal to import, produce, advertise, distribute, or sell fake or unapproved food products, drugs, cosmetics, and chemicals. As you abstain from these acts, also endeavor to report any such activity in your area. Let's fight against this threat to the health of our nation. Till we meet again next week, stay healthy.